Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, 10 it all the way to 10 for Darryl Jones.
Howdy. So, it was December 2002. It was raining and snowing, and I was frustrated and angry. I was on my way to see a man about a horse. And I was saying to myself, Darryl, why do you keep letting people talk you into doing things you know you don't want to do? You see, a friend of mine had a horse and he couldn't ride it. The horse kept throwing him off. Well, I've been riding for 20 years. So I retrained the horse. Bam, he's happy. But now, all of a sudden, he thinks it's a good idea for me to buy a horse from this guy he knows in Port Huron. I think I don't want the expense of a horse. I don't want the time commitment of a horse. I don't want people stealing my stuff at them stables where you keep your horse. And I look at him and I said, I don't want to buy a horse. I just want to keep riding your horse for free. But here I am, riding shotgun on my way to Port Huron to look at a horse that I don't even want to buy. We pull up in the driveway, and it's a beautiful 2-story brick home with a barn just far enough away where the people inside can't smell all that manure piling up out there. The guy comes out, he greets us, he walks us to the barn through all this mud. And now I'm even more frustrated. We get to the barn, we go inside, and all of a sudden, dogs are barking like crazy. And I go from being frustrated to afraid. I ask myself, is this safe in here? We go in, and I see all the dogs on the far end of the barn contained. And I think, oh, okay, it looks like it might be all right. So the guy grabs a rope, and he goes into the stall. And he comes back out with this big, beautiful, black, shiny horse. And I look at that horse and think, I'm in love. The guy walks the horse around so we can see it, and we're looking at the horse, and then we're looking at the horse, and then we look at the horse. And I said to my buddy, I said, man, we're going to keep looking at this horse and we come to ride it. See, most female horses' muscles are kind of refined, but this girl had muscles bulging like she was a bodybuilder. I had never seen a female horse that muscled up in my life, not before, not since. And I think to myself, wow, what a beauty. So finally the guy says, yeah, you can ride her. So I get the saddle and I get the bridle and I tack up the horse, and then I get her on the end of the rope and I just exercise her back and forth, to kind of work the kinks out. And then I think she's ready, so I grab the saddle horn and I launch myself up into the saddle, and then soon as I hit the saddle, she stops like a statue. And I say, good girl. See, a horse that's been pent up in a barn for who God knows how long, I'm expecting her to be jittery all over the place. But she's not. And I'm thinking, I think I'm falling even more in love. So I ride around in the barn, and she does exactly everything I ask. I say, this horse is like riding a push-button horse. Push the button, she turns left. Push the button, she stops. Push the button, she backs up. Push the button, she turns right. I think, man, this is an incredible horse. So I ride over to where the guys are, and I say, hey, man, can I ride this horse outside? And he says, yeah, her pasture's just outside the door. So I ride her out the door, and there's water everywhere. And in case you didn't know, horses cannot stand water. So I go out there, and there I look for the biggest puddle I can find, and I try to ride her through it. And I'm expecting a big fight. Like, I ain't going through that water. Girlfriend goes through that water like it ain't nothing, like it ain't even there. And I think, man, what a horse. I am so excited. So I ride over, and I ride her around a little bit, and I go over to where the guys are, and the guy's there, and he says, she's really working good for you. And I think, that's just a sales pitch. You're just trying to get my money. But I am excited. I said, well, any horse rides good at home. The question is, what will she do riding down the road? So he says, well, you can ride her down the road. So I go out. I go down that same muddy path we came in, get to the driveway, make a left, go to head toward the road, and she takes 2 steps and stops. And I said, okay. So I said, come on, girl. She won't budge. I tap her with my heel. She won't budge. The guy comes up to me and says, what's wrong? I said, she won't go to the road. And he says, oh, she'll go. Come on, mama. He takes off running, and the horse takes off running after him. I think horses don't do this. This is not a horse. This is a big dog. We get to the road. He stops. I ride the horse to the left, and she goes 10 feet and stops. I said, just like a woman. Won't go nowhere you want her to go. Turn her back, ride her the other way. Finally, I say, I had enough of this. I take her back to the barn, unsaddle her, put her away. The guy says, what do you think? I said, let me think about it. See, in Deuteronomy, in the Bible, in Jeremiah chapter 29, it says, I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. Plans for good and not for evil, to give you an expected end. And I had been trying to live my life my way, and it wasn't working. So I just decided I was going to turn my life over to the Lord. I was going to live according to his word. And so here it is. I got the chance to buy this horse. But the question is this horse in God's plan for me? So I said, Lord, I want this horse really, really, really bad. It's been a long time since I owned a horse. And I said, Lord, I got the money for this horse. I said, but Lord, if this is not what you want from me, just send me a sign and I'll shut it down, even at the last minute. Well, I called a guy up. We agree on a price, and I'm supposed to come get the horse on the weekend. Well, it's Friday night, and I'm in Akron, Ohio. Mom Parms is retiring, and I'm excited. I'm showing everybody pictures of this horse. I'm telling everybody about this horse. And then my phone rings. It's my buddy. I say, hey, man. He said, that guy just called me, man. He wants to know if we coming to get that horse tomorrow. I said, yeah, we coming to get that horse. Of course we coming to get that horse. He said, well, the guy said he wants to know, are we bringing cash or a check? And if we not bringing cash, he said, don't even come. I pause. I think, Lord, this is a sign from you, ain't it? So I swallow hard and I say what I don't want to say. Tell him we're not coming. So I hang up the phone and I drive the long way back from Akron to Detroit. And the whole time I'm disappointed, I'm discouraged, I'm sad. But I think to myself, I just got to trust God. And I say, Lord, I have faith that you know what's best for my life more than I do. So I go on with my life. I get back into doing the things I do. And then 3 months later, my phone rings. This is my same buddy. He says, hey, man, that guy called me and wants to know, are you interested in that horse? I say, Lord, is this you? Was that just a test? Did you want to know if I would do it if you shut it down at the last minute? I said, Lord, well, I'm going to move forward. You know how to send me a sign when you want me to stop. So I start moving forward. I said, listen, man, tell that guy I'm interested, but it's got to be under my terms. He said, the guy said he'll do it any terms you want. And I say, fine. I go, pay for the horse, pick up the horse, bring the horse home, and just like at the barn, she gives me a trouble. I ask her to go forward, she backs up. But after about 2 years of that, we finally get it together. And we start riding in parades and everything is great, and life is wonderful, but one thing, the barn is way too far from my house. See, I ride every day. I mean every day, rain, snow, or shine. So I start looking for a place closer, and I see this woman riding a horse in a place I've never seen. So I stop her and say, hey, where do you keep your horse? And she says, oh, back on the corner. Just ask for Mr. Johnson. I go back, knock on the door. Mr. Johnson comes. I ask him if he has room for my horse. He says, yes. I pay him, and I say, I'll bring my horse out on the weekend. I bring my horse out on the weekend, and everything's great. Oh, my goodness. It couldn't be any better. So I ride every day, and I'm out there, and I'm brushing my horse, getting ready to ride, and Mr. Johnson's girlfriend comes out. And she starts talking to me. So I'm like, oh, how you doing? She's like, can I get you to ride my horse? I said, ride your horse? Why you want me to ride your horse? She's like, it keeps throwing everybody off, and you seem like you know what you're doing, but it keeps throwing everybody off. And I said, well, your boyfriend owned this place. Why don't you get him to ride the horse? And she says, because he's scared. I think, I don't think I want to get in the middle of this. This sounds like some mess right here. So I said, no, I don't think so. I saddle my horse up, go for a ride, come back. That's it for that day. I come back the next day. Who comes out to see me but Mr. Johnson? And I'm like, okay, I'm getting my horse ready. And he says, hey, man, have you ever rode my girlfriend's horse? I said, no. He said, well, you should. I said, I should. Why you think I should? He said, oh, that horse rides so smooth, it's like a Cadillac. He said, it's a gaited horse. You probably never rode a gaited horse. I'm like, okay. So I take that as his sign of saying, it's okay. Go ahead and ride my girlfriend's horse for it. It's all right. I'm all right with that. So I ride as usual, come back as usual, leave as usual. Come back the next day, I ride every day. Here comes the girlfriend again. Hey, will you ride my horse? I just thought I'd ask you again. I said, okay, I'll ride your horse for you. So she saddles up the horse. We take it to the arena. I get on the horse, and I mean, that horse tries every trick in the book to get me off his back. And then finally, it just rears up like the Lone Ranger's horse trying to throw me off and comes down on its knees. But I'm still in the saddle. It gets up, and I ride the horse around a little bit, get off, hand the horse to the girl, I leave. Now, Mr. Johnson ain't out there, but I think he's inside, peeking out the window. So I don't think anything of it. I leave. Several months later, I get a call. I look, it's Mr. Johnson. I said, hello. He said, hey, man, you got to come quick. Something's wrong with your horse. I said, oh, my God, I'm on my way. He says, no, I'm just kidding. I said, what? He said, I'm just kidding. I said, man, don't kid like that. He said, no, I'm not kidding. You better come right away, and hung up the phone. I rush out to my car. I head toward the barn, and I call my buddy, and I say, hey, man, look, this is what's going on. He says, pick me up. I'm going to grab my gun, and we going out there. I pick him up on the way, and he's like, yeah, man, I got to, he has a permit to carry. So we go out there. We pull up to the barn. We look out in the field, and there's something strange out there. We can't make out what it is. We walk out there, and as we get closer and closer and closer, it becomes real clear what it is. It's my horse laying in a pool of blood. Well, I didn't know I was going to get this choked up. Someone had slit her throat. And her tongue had literally come out of the slit and was laying on the ground next to her. And I am furious. I'm thinking, who in the hell did this? And why in the hell did they do this? It had to be Mr. Johnson, jealous. And I think, he killed my horse. Now it's his turn. I turned to my friend, and before I could even ask him to hand me his gun, God starts speaking to me. Now, I don't know how or if God speaks to you, but you know how when you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about your day and you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but it's all in your head. That's how God speaks to me. And he says, Darryl, what does my word say about revenge? And I said, God, I ain't even trying to hear this. And he says, you know my word says, vengeance is mine, I shall repay, says the Lord. I said, God, maybe I ain't trying to hear this. He says, fine. You want to handle it? Go ahead and handle it. He said, but let me tell you something. If you handle it, there's consequences. If I handle it, there ain't no consequences. So we go back and forth, and finally I just break down crying like a baby, and I said, Lord, I'm going to do it your way. So I look at my buddy and I say, let's go, man. So we leave. Not long after that, Mr. Johnson sells his place, moves out of state. I think I'll never see him again. Every year, me and my partner, we go to Chicago because there's a club there called the Broken Arrow Riding Club, and every year they have a high noon ride, and we Black people from all over the country bring horses from Texas and all over, and we ride along the shoreline. But see, I don't have a horse now. But it's okay, because I still want to hang out with my friends. I want to go and chop it up a little bit. So I get there and we eat some barbecue, and we start playing some cards, and we start laughing and joking and capping, and then all of a sudden somebody says, "Here comes Mr. Johnson." And I stop and say, "Lord, I don't know if I can handle this." And I hear footsteps behind me, and I turn around, and there's Mr. Johnson in a wheelchair. And there's his girlfriend pushing him. She says, "Hey, y'all. Yeah, I just want you to know Mr. Johnson is paralyzed from the neck down. And he can't speak." And my heart sinks. And I think, this man is a prisoner in his own body. I said, "Lord, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy." And God says, "Darryl, when I say vengeance is mine, I will repay, I am not joking." And then he says, "Oh, by the way, there's another scripture that you don't seem to be focusing on." And I said, "What's that, Lord?" He says, "You know, in my word, it says that a thief must repay sevenfold. That means 7 times what it stole, they have to return." And guess what? I said, "Yeah, Lord." He said, "Mr. Johnson ain't the thief." I said, "He's not the thief?" He says, "No." I said, "Well, who's the thief?" And he says, "Well, you know, in my word, it says that the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Jesus came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. So the devil is the thief." And I say, "Okay, Lord." After that point, people start offering me free horses everywhere I go. I get 3 horses, 4 horses, 5 horses, and I say, "That's enough, Lord." That is enough. And God says, "Maybe you don't understand. This thing is a principle like gravity. Now, you might not like gravity, but you can't turn it off." I say, "Okay, Lord, I get it. It ain't gonna stop till I take 7, right?" He's like, "You got it." So horse number 6 comes, and this horse is a straight Egyptian Arabian. Very, very rare. In the United States, there's about 7 million horses. Out of that 7 million, somewhere about 200,000 horses are born every year. When it comes to straight Egyptian horses, there's less than 100 that are born every year. That's how rare they are. And so I get this horse, and then I get the papers, and I look at the papers, and the horse's name is Nevaeh. That's my daughter's name. God said, "Yeah, I know you've been praying about your daughter, and you want to restore your relationship with your daughter, and I'm going to do that for you." I said, "Oh," I start crying. I said, "Lord, you are so good to me." And so that's number 6. And so the guy who gave me Nevaeh, he came by to see her and saw how good she was being taken care of. He said, "Yeah, man, I heard you had a reputation of really taking good care of your horses." So he left, and then he called me and said, "Hey, I got an 8-month-old colt here. Do you want him?" I said, "I'm on my way." So I go and pick up the colt. And I asked him, I said, "Do you have the papers?" "No, I don't have the papers." I said, "Can I name the horse?" See, you know, when I get my horses, I rename them anyway, but the name on the papers is always the same. And so I said, I've always wanted that. He said, "No, man, you can't name my horse. That's my horse. I'm going to name." So I get the papers from him, and I look at the papers, and the name of the horse is El Majid. El Majid in Arabic means God's noble glory. And I think, there's no way I could have came up with a name that good. No way in the world. I was like, "Woo, that's good. That is good, Lord." So I think, okay, we done now, right, Lord? That's number 7. And God says, "Oh, no, we ain't done yet." I said, "We not done?" "No." I said, "Well, tell me more." And he says, "Well, you need to read Ephesians chapter 3 in the Bible. Ephesians chapter 3, right around verse 20, it says that God will do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ask or think, according to his power that works in you." So I say, "Okay, Lord, what's that mean?" Well, 2020, height of the pandemic, I wake up and I look out the window and I see my horses, but it looks like it's a big dog out there. And I'm like, what is that big dog doing in my pasture? So I go out there. It's not a big dog. It's a baby horse. First one ever born on my property. I say, something really stupid, I say, where'd it come from? God was like, did you miss the birds and the bees day in school or something? Where'd it come from? And so I didn't even know the horse was pregnant. Now, every woman I tell that, they beat me up. But I didn't even know the horse was pregnant. So I say, well, Lord, what should I name her? And my cousin kept asking me, did you name the horse yet? I said, no. Did you name the horse? So I named the horse after her and the name that God showed me in the Bible. So my cousin's name is Edith Shadlow. And the name God showed me in the Old Testament, I had never read this name before. Go home, look for it. Igdalia. I looked it up. Igdalia means God's greatest. I said, woo, I like that. Yeah. Edith Shadlow, Igdalia, that's her name. So 2021 comes, before 2021 comes, I think, well, now that I know she's fertile, I've been wanting to breed her to my buddy's championship stallion. And a friend of mine, I told that, they said, you need to go find out whether or not she's pregnant already. I said, come on, she just had the baby. How's she gonna be pregnant already? She's like, before you spend all that money, call the vet. So I called the vet, they bring out the ultrasound, and the vet looks at me and says, too late, she's pregnant. And I'm like, already? He's like, yep. And so 2021 comes, and this time girlfriend has a boy. And I think, wow, Lord, what are we gonna name him? And he says, name him after his daddy. I said, okay, Lord, but I'm not gonna name him El Majid, which unless you read or speak Arabic, you don't know what that means. I'm gonna name him God's noble glory. And so I think, wow, Lord, you are just incredible. Now, that's really not the end of the story, but I do have to stop here. And I will tell you that through all of that, if God gave me a 10th horse, I think I would name it Grateful. See, through all of that, one of the things I learned is that God is faithful. And I learned that he always keeps his promises. And for that, I am grateful. Thank you.
Darryl Jones, Grateful.